So I'm here to invite you into an experiment that I am already looking into for the last 20 something years and still feeling like a beginner. And that is this, what is actually a lifelong experiment of yoga. Like, what is yoga? I can tell you what yoga practice is, but I don't really know what yoga is. So this experiment is going to be treated more like a scientific experiment, since yoga is a mystical science, and science is usually approached in periods of time, measured, and then we see what happens. All right, so yoga itself, or the yoga practice, I will say, is this endeavor to see deeply into the fundamental nature of things, like what is fundamentally true. So endeavoring to see deeply into what is fundamentally true is yoga practice, this endeavor, this effort, the work that we do, the daily rhythm of yoga is practice. And this experiment is going to be through the Ashtanga yoga practice. And an Ashtanga yoga practice is a deeply personal relationship with yourself through sensory training, And over time, it enlivens this capacity to live well and to love well in the body-mind, right now, right here, right? So we're really confused, a lot of us, about what it is to live freely, like to live in the body-mind, free from this tyranny of mental constructs, of these fabrications, these ideas of control, these ideas of acquisition and having and want and don't want and ignoring, and all of these things seem to hijack our experiences. And so this endeavor to find out what is fundamentally true is what is necessary in order to live freely. Ashtanga is a practice of liberation through breathing and moving, this beautiful breathing and moving thread of tending to what is through the lens of awareness. So we're tending to what is in front of us over and over and over again through the lens of awareness. And most students will, depending on the condition of the body, right, will begin with sun salutations, the Surya Namaskar, and the final variations of lotus posture, or the seated cross-legged posture, Padmasana. And honestly, this practice alone, the sun salutations and the final 3 postures and taking rest, this alone is really good medicine. So after this becomes more and more embodied, this practice, you remember this, you can come in and practice it on your own. With a little bit of help, we add postures, if this is what you are drawn to. And we add postures as you begin to experience a sense of perceptive awareness of what Patabi Joyce calls sound breathing. And this practice, and I think it was David Garrigues that has said this, it coaxes the breath out of hiding. It coaxes your breath out of hiding so that we can thread it through each transition from one posture to another. And we also find this deepening ujjayi, it's called ujjayi breath, in the posture itself. And this action, this conscious breathing, wise breathing, cultivates wisdom. It activates this feeling of confidence or trust in the science of yoga as a tool of liberation. So what are we liberating ourselves from? This attachment, these attachments. But I would say the way that we attach to the painful ways of being in this body mind. We're very attached to living in this body in a way that is incredibly painful most of the time. And I don't mean physical pain, but that can be there as well. And another beautiful thing about Ashtanga is that it is deep and continuous concentration through a method called the Tristana method, which I'll talk about in a minute. Concentration is dharana, and this method, this Tristana method, has 3 elements, and I won't say a whole lot about it except to say that they include conscious breathing, they include the posture, and they include the gazing point, the drishti. Okay. So consistency is key, and that's where most of us tend to struggle, I think, is with daily consistency. So the endeavor here, my wish for you, is that we find a way for you to practice 5 to 6 days a week. You can go small. Just get on the yoga mat or the yoga rug, whatever you're doing it on, and practice as much as you are able as a daily cleanse, essentially. So we are, again, seeing, and the necessity here for daily is that it's necessary to see over and over again what is fundamentally true. What is fundamentally true. And as with anything of value, learning anything, it is necessary to repeat with consistency and dedication, and the key to yoga, to all of the Buddhist practices over and over again is repeated in the teachings, is that we practice without expectation of an outcome. Because expectation builds this this mountain of possibility for disappointment, right? So that's there. The core teaching of yoga is to practice without attaching to the outcome of the practice. So you're practicing yoga in order to practice yoga. Like you're taking a walk to enjoy the walk. You're eating to eat the food, drinking the tea to immerse yourself in the experience of the tea. And I wrote this down just to be clear about something super sweet about where the desire to practice seems to come from. And it does seem that I said, as human beings, are predisposed to this primordial longing to know ourselves intimately. And so in that knowing, like knowing through this daily cleansing, I guess you would say, this daily getting to know ourselves, we are freed from this delusion that we're separate from life. So the reality is that between longing and knowing, we have the longing that taps us on the shoulder. Sometimes it hits us in the back of the head with a brick, like something might need a shift here. So the reality is that between the longing and the knowing is a mountain of obstacles to climb. It's like a mountain. This practice is a methodology that provides essential tools to climb the mountain. And what is necessary is that you are so absorbed in this practice, this dedication to moving and breathing and the stillness that comes, this careful attention to what is needed in relationship to the practice, right? As it relates with your life as a householder yogi. So we're building skills for living as well, you know. This gives you, Ashtanga gives us a skill. It draws you inward more and more and more in order to find out who you are. Not the personality. We all know what that does. So, I'd like to share the tools with you, the technique. It's a process. It's mostly taught in very quiescent space. No idle chit-chat. It's not as deeply as a community is built in an Ashtanga room or a Mysore room. There is very little talking by necessity. There is focus, there is hearing the breath, there is learning and engaging fully, there is deep, deep concentration. So it's not more of the same. It's not more of the same. It's a very different approach to yoga. I will say more on that later. So I don't want to talk too long here. Everyone who is willing to open themselves to looking deeply can practice Ashtanga yoga. If you are bedridden, you can do the breath. If you have a fever, you can rest and breathe and focus your awareness and experience the fever. That's Ashtanga yoga. If you have a broken leg, we'll do some work with the other leg. There's always something that you can do. Age doesn't matter. If you are ill, rest is important. Maybe you practice Shavasana, corpse pose, if you're not feeling well. There's something that you can do every day in relationship to this practice. So, all of the naysayers about Ashtanga yoga who think that it is a wildly gymnastic practice that only a few can do, that's not the reality of the practice. Okay, so you're invited to come if you'd like. I'm going to hold a meeting, like a little session together, and talk about the logistics and the technical side of it a little bit, and make sure that you're really curious enough to step into this all the way, into this experiment. And I will be here for you 100%. And I look forward to talking to you about this more. Thank you. Namaste, Ji.